show the hair?
Whip it back and forth.
Do I do the hair or do I do the hat?
Damn. I like the hat.
Do you like the hat?
Come on, girl.
All right. What about the jacket though? We're gonna do the jacket.
So what is? Okay.
All right. What?
It's got a red dot.
There's a red dot. All right. Good. That means you did it right.
At least in the bottom left.
Yep. Here.
Well,
Oh. Yeah.
Shmikovic or.
That's about right.
Oh, okay.
It's not even close.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, tell us a little bit. About yourself. I mean, where you are right now.
Well, hello. My name is Ben Smelkovich, and I am part of the creative team here at the church at Rancho Bernardo. I'm also a freelance videographer, cinematographer, and student at Cal State San Marcos studying art, media, and design. And I guess today we're going to be doing a little bit of Photoshop, which is the thing you ask a video person to do, huh? I didn't have any instructions on what to do for a thumbnail. I was told by a certain someone that he needed a Photoshop tutorial, so I threw something together real quick.
Guilty right there.
Yeah, a little guilty. You need to overthink it. You should just look at what the image itself is and then go off of there. Like if you're, a lot of people, I think when they think of Photoshop, oh my God, it's like, there we go, we're back. We're back. It's not a clapper. It's not a clapper. We're not that cool, but it is like sound, it is sounds like sensitive, but it's not like if the thing goes fully off, I can't clap it back on or anything like that.
Man.
If we look at the image itself, right? It's just like a photo of him standing at the podium, right? And I'm just gonna get some text that I like, and you can even see, it's like, oh, there's blue lines here, right? And it's like we have, you know, even in the photo itself, we have established, you know, with the background that we chose to use for him, we have blue and purple lines, and we have golden orange accents and backlighting, and overall it's like a blue and orange look, right? So instead of, you know, trying to reinvent the wheel and make the image something that it's not, I'm just gonna make all my design assets feel cohesive with what we actually did. You know what I mean? Like, it's just same thing, orange for accenting important areas, blue lines for additional flair, and then just white, which I actually pulled this exact color from his shirt here. So, cause it's just like, it's what's in the scene and it makes it
Consistent.
It's consistent, yeah. It's like, oh, this all feels like it feels like on brand, even though in reality, none of this even existed beforehand. This is me just pulling stuff from the photo.
And that orange glare around him is added as well?
So that orange lighting, that's the other thing. Your design, a lot of people think when it comes to like photos and videos that design is like a post-production thing. It starts the second you begin conceptualizing and shooting your stuff. Like, I shot the footage, right? And I lit it, I set the background, set the backlights. So I tailored a look for this, and that look has now paid off in an image that is very usable, right? If I had done poor lighting, if I hadn't taken photos, if I hadn't done any of that like pre-work and conceptualize what I wanted to get later, I would have been working with like a worse image, and that would have sucked. You can't do fake edges, like fake backlight around a subject like that, you know, in post. That's something you can't do. You can't do, like, you could put blue things in the background or whatever, but then you're spending hours like comping in out of focus blue lines that glow behind the person. It's like that, and that's overcomplicating your situation, right? It's like you should think about what it is you're doing beforehand and then capture that, and it'll save your butt in the long run. Now, a fun thing, specifically look at right here. Do you see how those two things are repeated?
Yeah.
That's because this photo
Copy and paste.
is, yeah, it's comped. This is actually,
Okay.
this is a vertical that I needed to extend the background for because I liked this image. And often I have the bad habit of, I prefer to shoot portrait for my photography, but then occasionally I won't grab a horizontal. So in that case, you have to do background extensions, which is what I did here. This is the initial extension I did. And the way you do that is you just command, select, get your image framed to how much you want it. Then Command select your image, you'll see you'll have your dotted selected lines. Shift Command I, that'll invert your selection. So now instead of the photo, everything outside of it is selected. Then you're gonna make a new layer, go to Edit, and you're gonna do Content Aware Fill. Now, especially, this is like another thing, I've used this trick a lot. When you have simplistic or repeated backgrounds, or like if you're trying to extend more sky, Content Aware Fill is like your best friend. And there's things that you can do with it that I haven't even touched it itself and duplicated it with Command J. And then I transformed it to the upper layer, and I'll even remove this so you can see what we're doing. So this is the image that I've duplicated, right? And then I just used my masking tool, which is down here. So you just click that, you get a little white box, you click into that. B for your brush tool, and black will eliminate parts of the image, like will mask it, and then white will reveal things. So I'll just make my brush super big, maybe not that big so we can actually see it, and then I'm just gonna remove a chunk of the background. Then we'll add back in our little elements that we've made already, and we'll take those added layers that we just did, and we can just shift them over. And because we're gonna, even though I'm seeing right here, there's a little bit of like a glow here, but for the most part, like we'll get rid of that part because there is, the orange backlight is actually, you could see right here, it's bleeding into the lens a little bit, which is creating like a different color of black. It's like more orange, and this is just true black here. And that's translating into the masked part. So we'll get rid of that, and then we'll just have the part that is part of the true black. And then we can just add it there. And then we can even just duplicate that layer now, and then add that again. And now we have like a repeated pattern. That is something you could try to achieve with Content Aware Fill. However, when I tried it with this, it was having trouble recognizing what the pattern should actually be for these lines specifically. But that's just a simple way you can duplicate your background, especially considering that our background is very uniform. It's just straight black, like matte black with graying. And then since we've already made this filled layer here, we can just add those things on top, and we don't even have to necessarily worry about like cleaning up the edges of the mask. Because if we delete, like we move those, you know, it's like, ooh, that's gross, that's a garbage mask. But because we've done the work of creating our background, we don't have to do as much comp work. And
Let's get that clap in.
there we go.
Ah, that is so cool.
So simple background extension, stuff like that. The other way you could do it is you could go to the image itself and then S, which will give you your clone stamp tool, press Option, select the part of the image that you want to start painting, and then you can move over and start painting it. And then, so we're gonna have to move the background Content Aware Fill layer we did. So like theoretically, you could paint your entire background in like this, but Content Aware Fill makes it so much faster and it's so much cleaner. So like you can do it, and for some details, it does work nicely, but for the most part, I don't like to do that because it involves destructive editing. For those who don't know or who haven't heard that term before, in Photoshop, you really don't want to get rid of it all the way. Like I'm making changes where I'm duplicating layers and masking things out, right? But if I go here and I'll enable this mask, right? If I disable this layer mask, the image itself is not affected, right? There's a little bit of a clone stamp here that I just clicked, but besides that, the image itself is still true. And then I'll enable the mask. So it's non-destructive. I haven't actually altered the core image. Whereas where you do something like clone stamping, and you can see with this little thing here, is that that is now part of the image. And to undo that, you have to Command Z your way back. So if you do something, right? If you say you clone stamp an entire background, and then you realize, oh, I want this part of the background to be different, you can't just go back and just like change it